Hey everybody, this is Brian here. This is going to be another top 10 video. Today we're doing things that ruin good shows at the end. You know, there's a lot of shows that were excellent for the first few seasons, but they go downhill at the end, and it kind of makes it hard to like binge watch the show all the way through when the last couple of seasons, are gonna be a landslide of sucking compared to the first couple. There's a few shows like this, for example, that 70s show Scrubs. Um, I think Married with Children is a show that went downhill at the end when they added that kid Seven, the little blonde kid, when they had Peg get pregnant for no reason, even though she was supposed to be like 40 years old or something. Kind of old to get pregnant, but I mean, I guess. Anyways, so number one is conveniently add a baby or add a kid out of nowhere when it really makes no sense to the plot, just to kind of change things up. They did that in Married with Children. They actually had her get pregnant and they added that kid who just showed up and he was already like 8 years old. I mean, these are people who are like middle aged. They already have two like high school age kids. I just don't see how this really made sense. And I think this was when the show started to go downhill. So that was the death knell of one of the best shows on TV of the 80s and 90s. Um, Number two on here is to have regulars appear less frequently. An example of that's like that 70s show when Kelso and Eric started thinking that they were going to have remarkable film careers, and Eric ends up playing Venom and Spider-Man, which was atrocious, and everywhere Ashton Kutcher shows up, he's pretty horrible. But yeah, when they start having the main characters of the show appear less frequently, other supporting characters in that show, like Lori and Donna's mom, started appearing less and less too. I just think that those are when you have a smaller pool of people and of stories and of humor and wit and different perspectives to draw from in a show. Um, Another example of this is when they had Carla start appearing less and less in the final two seasons of Scrubs. Um, yeah. Number three on here is going to be to romanticize characters that really don't fit together that well. And I guess shipping is kind of a popular thing on the internet, and it's subjective, so it's really all up to opinion who really fits together. But fitting characters together that have little in common, I think, is a poor way to keep a show going and to like stretch the length of the run, so to speak. One show that really did this a lot towards the end was Friends, and I think it's especially bad on a show that will they won't they dynamic. I think Eric and Donna's will they won't they dynamic was one of the most interesting things in that 70s show, But yeah, Friends was one of those shows that they really just kind of took that will they won't they dynamic, they threw it out the window, and they just kind of had them uh, get together. Anyways, get together, go apart, get together, and they just did too many back and forths. It just didn't mean anything towards the end. Number four is to replace characters with unlikable douchey guys. Sorry to mention it yet again, but that 70s show, they replaced Eric, who appeared less and less, with character Randy in the final season, who was played by that dude from Mad TV. Um, he didn't have any personality, and I think most of the people who watched that show hated that guy. He was terrible. He's the epitome, the very archetype of adding an unlikable douche, like like when they added Ashton Kutcher to Two and a Half Men to replace Charlie Sheen after he'd gotten fired, I think, um, for criticizing them or something. The network, that is. But yeah, I don't like it when they replace the main character with some guy. Why not just end the show then? If the main people who are supposed to be like fueling the dialogue and the stories, if some of them aren't even there, it's like having the Jimi Hendrix experience without Jimi Hendrix. I mean, that would be moronic. Number five on here is have one of the show's main characters get a stupid new job, like Kelso being a police officer. um, that is irrelevant to the show, or have them go off to college or something as an excuse for that actor to appear less on the show because perhaps they're having some contractual dispute or something. I don't know. I think they're running out of ideas a lot of times when they do this. Um, Number six on here is to have a character die. Like when they had Roseanne's husband die, and the show became all surreal and weird, and the final season is like one of the worst final seasons in the history of TV. Um, I don't know why they had him leave, or why they had him die if the actor got fired or got in a dispute with the network or something. I really don't know. If that was an actual planned plot line, then uh, whoever planned it should never work in film again. Number seven, I'm actually going to talk a little bit about animation here, just for this one. But this is, things that ruin good shows at the end, not specifically like sitcoms and live action. But yeah, switching producers or directors is what I'm going to talk about here for number seven. And I'll give Tom and Jerry as an example. Um, from the early 40s all the way to like 1957, Tom and Jerry was one of the most successful like animated shorts productions of all time. It ran for like 15 to like 18 years. I don't know the exact year the first short came out. It was drastically different. Tom looked way different. His name was Jasper and stuff. Um, but yeah, the show won 7 awards, and it was produced by Hanna-Barbera in that time from like early World War II all the way to the end of the 50s when I guess the production company, the original one, that it was so successful under, it closed down. And in the 60s, it won no awards under those two new producers. They produced 13 shorts, I think, under this guy named Gene Deitch. He was in Czechoslovakia behind the Iron Curtain at that time. And he had only seen a couple of the early Tom and Jerry shorts, so he didn't really know what to do with it. And so when you switch producers or directors, you end up with people who don't know what they're doing with the source material compared to the original people who conceptualized it, if you know what I mean. And you end up with things like the Gene Deitch and Chuck Jones episodes of Tom and Jerry, which were terrible. So especially in animation, when you switch direction and production companies or channels, some channels are a little bit more censorship heavy. When you switch any of those things towards the end of a show, I think that starts to make it suck a lot. Number eight is when they reimagine fan favorite characters poorly towards the end of a show, just to try to get attention from the fan base or to get people to tune in, all surprised. I don't know. There's a few examples of this. Towards the end of Scrubs, they had all of the student doctors, or yeah, like the interns. They had them, the medical interns, which is it's a good play on words. The show name Scrubs, like medical scrubs, but also they're low level on the ranking, on the ladder. They're only interns. So it made sense, but to have them become professors at like a medical college and us have to care about these douchey no name like filler characters at the end. When you reimagine important characters to the show, and drastically change them at the end, I think that's one of the things that signals the death knell of a successful and likable and memorable, sentimentally likable show. That's one of the things that ruins it towards the end, is when you have the characters change. Blonde Donna, Ladies Man Fez, Police Officer Kelso, Professor JD. These things just don't work. They just don't make sense. When they had Tom reanimated in the 60s episodes of Tom and Jerry, and he looked like a cereal box mascot. He was all smiling and happy, and he had pointy ears, and he just didn't look all sadistic and like he was out to get Jerry like he was in the early episodes, which really, considering the violent gags in the show, it made more sense. Number 9 on here is going to be to add a supporting character to the show for seemingly no purpose. Um, and that character is supposed to be all clever and sarcastic, and all of a sudden the main character is stupid, and they're constantly getting corrected or made fun of or made to look like they don't know what they're doing. I think that quite a few shows have done that. Over the years, add a supposedly witty character, but they just ruin the dialogue seemingly. Number 10 on here is to change the location of the show ridiculously at the end for seemingly no meaning, without it conforming to the plot. I think Gilligan's Island having everyone get rescued makes no sense, for example. Like, the show. I mean, it's in the title of the show. I mean, they're supposed to be on an island. The point is that different types of people can live together in harmony even on a remote island that's away from our normal human society luxuries. That different types of people can live in cohabitation. But when they change that drastically, that's a good example of a show really ruining the whole thing by ruining the set, so to speak. Anyways, these are just 10 things I think that have kind of ruined good shows over the years, and help their path towards going off air be made a lot faster. It's kind of like the death knell, like I've said that quite a few times. But yeah, this is the top 10 things that ruin good shows at the end, particularly like the last 2 seasons. Shows that don't necessarily always get canceled, but they may as well have, because the last 2 seasons are almost, they make you like, oh, like that makes you cringe at the end. Like, why did they have to do this with my favorite characters? Not give us closure, but kind of close the doors, so to speak, on your, like, slamming your hand in the door more so than closing the door. Um, uh, I guess the word, acceptance. I don't know. They make you feel like you've gotten the gotten what you were looking for from the end of the show. Instead, it just kind of leaves you unsure. Anyways, I love you guys because you're you. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a good day. Peace.